of guests and of course your calls, discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On the Ball with Troy Bif Mills on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball. Do you want to know what's happening in sport? Tune into On the Ball, a weekly tour show which is on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. with me, your host, Troy Bif Mills. We will keep you on the ball with our variety of guests and of course your calls, discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On the Ball with Troy Bif Mills on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball. Good evening, Leeward Islands. Good evening to the Caribbean. Oh boy, I didn't say good evening to the OECS, did I? But good evening to the OECS. Good evening to the entire world. And I really believe you got people out there in Mars, Neptune, or Saturn listening us. So just in case you are good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon, good tomorrow, good yesterday, whatever it is with you. Welcome to another edition of On the Ball here at WINN FM 98.9. I am Troy Bif Mills, your host. Boy, the year done fast, boy. Today is what, the 24th of June already? Poof. I remember on the 1st or the 2nd of January, I tell somebody the year going fast. They tell me why he talking about it was just 2 days, but it just seemed like his last week. I tell them. And them 2 days went down fast, I tell you. Welcome to another edition of On the Ball here on WINN FM 98.9. If you're celebrating birthday today, we say happy birthday to you. If you're celebrating anniversary, happy anniversary to you. If you got something special, or just got something, a new hairdo, and I believe a lot of people going to get new hairdo because we know what's happening starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if you get new pants and your bicycle and your boyfriend and your girlfriend, I mean, some people might say if you get divorced, that's reason to congratulate one of the parties at least, or maybe both parties. And if you got a new baby, congratulations, a promotion in your job, or even if you got a job, we say congratulations to you. Those who celebrated birthdays between last week, Wednesday, and yesterday, happy belated birthdays to you. Birthday to you. Those who celebrated anniversaries, happy belated anniversary to you. And those who are celebrating birthday between tomorrow and next week, Monday, we say happy birthday in advance to you. And those who are celebrating anniversary, we say happy anniversary in advance to you. Oh, a lot of things going on here. A lot of things happening all over. South Africa win the World Test Championship. The first time they've done it. The first championship they get since 1992. So that is something like, 33 years? Boy, that's a lot of years, boy. And I'm particularly glad. I don't mean for you to get a sound away or think a sound away, but I'm glad especially for Temba Bavuma, the captain, the little giant. I think he's probably the proudest man in the world to win it. I was really backing him last year in the World Cup, to win it because of him. However, I was really backing India to win it last year in the World Cup here in the West Indies. And they had the World Cup to win. India tried a Sashu, and it worked. Because he had a pair last night, I think, and somebody got great guns, way ahead of the wine name. And I think it was the wicketkeeper say he pull a muscle or pull a fat or something. He slowed down the game for some few minutes. And from the time they resumed by, South Africa went downhill. That timeout, illegitimate timeout, really worked. And they say after he pulled it, by the time he stand up, he was walking like nothing happened. Because everybody know nothing had happened to him. But it was a strategic break and it worked. And when India was really able to come back and win the match. So thank you once again. The numbers to call, 466-0989. That's the local number to call. If you want to WhatsApp me, you could do it on 766. What's my number? 765-1100. And in the USA, you call. In the UK, you call 033-344-0065. In the USA, you call 718-285-6984. And in Canada, you call 305-921-461. And you can WhatsApp me, 765-1100. And if you're too shy to talk, yes, send a WhatsApp, and we will gladly accept it. And I'm hoping that we're going to have a wonderful show tonight. We're going to talk some politics, some serious politics, And, you're dirty-minded person, you. I know what you're thinking. It's not what you're thinking. We ain't talking the PAM Labour, CCM, NRP, or PLP politics tonight. We are talking football politics, some serious football politics we're talking, boy. And I'm going to be having some heavyweights, some heavy giants in the studio and online as well. And I wish I was even about half or even a quarter of these guys in the power they pack in, the weight they carry. And I ain't talking about physical weight. But I cannot start without mentioning this. Our very own Mikhail Louis. And the guy just started playing cricket just the other day. And let us join my producer as he runs some things for me. And he's queuing up. Just give us a second, we'll be there.
Broke into the West Indies team after 7 first-class matches. a phenomenal effort. He made his test debut at Lords. Mikhail, how do you feel to cut this award?
I'm feeling great, man. Obviously, it's a great honor, a great pleasure to be amongst great people, accomplished players, and I'm just feeling great just to be here amongst them.
Player of the Year are Mikhail Louis, Kevin Sinclair, Craig Brathwaite, Joshua Bishop, Jomel Warrican.
Broke into the West Indies team after 7
Okay.
first-class matches.
Our first award of the evening.
He made his test debut
And the winner is Mikhail Louis.
You're the first Kittian to play for the West Indies in either format, whether Test, ODI, T20 cricket. And to have this award to go with what you have achieved for 2024, what is it that you need to do to continue to raise the bar?
Well, this is just a start for me. Honestly, I would like to represent the West Indies at all formats, and this is just basically a reward for the hard work that I have put in the past. Moving forward, I would like to work harder so I can represent the West Indies in all formats and basically make the Caribbean proud.
The Kittian himself, the Leeward Islands opener, the West Indies opener, Mikhail Louis.
Congratulations, Mikhail. You have really you've come on into the scene with a bang and into the West Indies team. And this, I have to check the records to find out how soon after coming onto the international scene a player has been recognized. And this is something super. And well, before we get to another piece of news about that, let us read a release from the St. Kitts Cricket Association. It is with great pride and joy that we share the exciting news that Mr. Mikhail Louis, one of our very own, has been awarded the prestigious West Indies Championship Player of the Year. Player of the Year. Well, you know how much people they had up to do that, and they brought it down to 5, and then they had that. And this was at the 2025 Cricket West Indies Players Association WIPA Awards Gala held on Sunday, 22nd June 2023 in Barbados. In 2023-2024, Mikhail's performance in the West Indies Championship was nothing short of phenomenal. He emerged as the leading run scorer of the tournament, registering 3 centuries and 4 half-centuries, including 2 centuries on home soil at Warner Park. This award marks a historic milestone. Mikhail is the first cricketer from St. Kitts and Nevis to receive this distinguished title, a moment of immense pride for our association, that is the St. Kitts Cricket Association, SKCA, our island, that is St. Kitts, and the entire nation, and that is St. Kitts and Nevis. The St. Kitts Cricket Association invites all members to join in extending heartfelt congratulations to Mikhail Louis, his family, and coaches on this incredible achievement. And that comes from Miss Andrea Liddy, Secretary of the St. Kitts Cricket Association. And obviously on behalf of the management and staff, the Board of Directors of WINN FM 98.9, on behalf of the News and Sports Department, on behalf of the On the Ball program, heard every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m., and on behalf of the sportscaster, yours truly, we extend the congratulations to Mikhail and wish him all the best in his cricketing career, which has just gotten started. He is just 24. Ah, boy, I wonder if when I was 24, I know how to strap up my pads good, eh? But he has a long way to go. I said it last year when he made the West Indies team. A lot of people buff and push at me and wondered what's going on. I did say that I believe he is going to go on to captain the West Indies team. The argument was, Troy Bif, the man didn't make a place good in the West Indies team. What captain you talking about? I say yes, but he's going to cement his place, and then he eventually going to go on to captaining the West Indies. And today is what? The 24th of June, 2025. Mark my words. I can't say you could take that to the bank, but mark my words. We are going to see how that is going to work out, because I really believe so. And before we come into football, and I should tell you, we have our guests here waiting. And what I'm talking about, they're no stranger to that, because these are sportsmen and things like that. When it comes to cricket, he used to drive the cricket from around his house when you hear him quick every night. That's as much cricket as I believe, you know. The other one is a former national player who should have, in my humble estimation, gone on to make the Leeward's team, but he didn't. However, he's here with us in a different capacity in football, as a football analyst, commentator, whatever you want to call it. But yes, that's we ain't going to introduce them yet. And I'm going to go over now, still with cricket, still with the Yankees Cricket Association, and again from the Secretary, Andrea Liddy. It is with immense kittition pride. I think she left out part. It's SP with the best be part. But anyway, it is with immense kittition pride that we share some exciting news. Jazara Claxton has once again been retained by the Trinidad and Tobago Knight Riders for the upcoming 2025 Massey Women's Caribbean Premier League, or the WCPL, taking place from 6th to the 17th September at the Guyana National Stadium in Providence, Guyana. This achievement reflects Jazara's commitment to excellence and the unwavering support of her family, coaches, and the broader cricket community. Let us join in congratulating Jazara and her support system for this continued success on the regional stage. We look forward to cheering her on as she proudly represents not just her franchise, but the spirit and potential of St. Kitts and Nevis. And it's coming from Miss Andrea Liddy, Secretary of the St. Kitts Cricket Association. And again, on behalf of the management, staff, board of directors of WINN FM 98.9, the news and sports department, on behalf of the On the Ball program, as well as myself as the sportscaster, sports journalist for WINN FM 98.9, we say congratulations to Jazara. And I know I don't have to remind anybody that she is from SP, where the best be, or as we say, Hub City, hub. And I could remember seeing Jazara riding up and down, this little girl on a little bicycle darting to and fro. I would have known she would have attained such heights. A tremendous sports lady. She had to make some tough choices because she was captain of the St. Kitts and Nevis on the 20 female team, all when she was like 16, 17. And she was also a track and field athlete representing St. Kitts and Nevis. But not just an athlete. She did what? The heptathlon, that's 7 events. And I have a lot of respect for any track and field athlete doing even the triathlon, which is running, swimming, and bike riding. But the pentathlon and the heptathlon, where you're going to do 100-meter hurdles, 1,500 meters, long jump or high jump, and throw javelin, and all kind of things. Them a strong iron man and iron woman thing, boy. But they're tough, and they to each his own. I tell people I never could sprint in my life. And oh boy, we have a phone call live and direct. Good evening, welcome to On the Ball here on WINN FM 98.9. Ouch. We lost that call. Please call back, caller 466-0989 if you're calling from within the Federation of St. Kitts and the Nevis or the Caribbean, as a matter of fact. If you're calling from the UK, 033-344-0065. From the US of A, please call 718-285-6984 or 305-921-4619. And she had to choose between track and field, athletics, track and field, football, and cricket. And I don't think it was a choice. From the time she went on to do it, we have the caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to On the Ball here at WINN FM 98.9. Hello.
Mr. Mills, Al Edwards.
Good evening, Coach. Oh, you're bright and early, Coach. We appreciate that. thanks. The second, we were talking a bit of cricket, and my two guests in here, one of them, the only cricket he knows about is when he used to chase them out the house at night. The other one, a former national player, and yourself. I think you used to go and watch cricket when they're playing in K1, isn't it? No, man, you're not anymore. We're gonna come to your second, as we must play kudos to Jazara and Shitu.
Do you want me to call back then?
No, it's okay. We're going to break right now. I'm just finishing up on Jazara in 30 seconds. And I did say as well, Jazara, I believe she's going to go on to captain the West Indies team. And that was last year as well, 2023, when she had just made the West Indies team, the senior West Indies team, because she played for the West Indies under 19. And again, I get a lot of stick. But I say, hey, let's wait and see. And I know some people going to come back and say, bye, Biff, you were right. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for Jazara and Kyle leading the way for us here in St. Kitts. Oh, I needed to say, in terms of Kyle, I must give Calvin James kudos because I think he was very extremely instrumental in Kyle's development. Juni Mitchum, he started his academy, and Kyle and his other two brothers, Jeremy and Mickelson, they were part of his academy way back when. And Calvin James, he had a team of schoolboys, and they used to practice at Basti High, and they played in the then second division of the St. Kitts Cricket Association. So he has to get a lot of credit for Kyle's development. So congrats, Calvin. I'm certain that you're extremely proud of this moment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're shifting over to the mainstay. We're going to be talking some politics. And we don't have one person on the line. We have two smart-looking gentlemen here in the studios. Let us go to the one online and say good evening, welcome to On the Ball, and have him introduce himself.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Coach Edwards. I think that's what most people think know me as. Former national youth player, former national senior player, just about 5 caps. Former executive member, first vice president during the Anthony Johnson regime for 2 terms, and then I stepped down. At the moment, I'm a qualified coach and coach educator.
Thank you very much, Coach Ibu. Oh, and you have my empathy, sir. Karen, after leading for almost all of the first round and first couple games into the second round, being kicked down to 4th place by the 2-0 loss to Rams Village Superstars, and one of my esteemed panelists here smiling from ear to ear. Let him introduce himself then. Good evening, sir. Welcome to On the Ball.
Good evening. Bang ho yoko bang. Coach, good evening. I am Troy.
No, you have to say anything else. That's his signature. Bang yoko bang. You have to say anything else.
I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here at WINN FM. I look forward to fruitful discussion. Village is me, I am village. Village is me, and I am village. And really looking forward to tonight. By profession, I'm a businessman. I think everybody knows me. I don't have to go too deep into it.
Thank you very much, Spotty. Thank you, Alan. We now go over to our another esteemed panelist. Good evening, sir. Welcome to WINN FM 98.9 and On the Ball.
Good evening, Troy. Good evening, Spotty and Al. My name is Norval McCall. Presently, as it pertains to football, I function as a football commentator, but very much involved in the league and what happens in it. Not a big footballer by any means. Well, when I try the thing, but I think I know enough to have a fruitful discussion in and around the league.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We are here, we're discussing football. Of course, we could discuss a little bit of cricket with Kyle and Jazara. And I have to mention something. When this squad was announced, there was a lot of hemming and hawing and talk if Kyle would have been selected to make the team. And actually, it's unfortunate that he has just received this award. However, he has not been selected in the first 11, and the squad and some persons may very well be disappointed, and I am not really, based on form in the recently concluded 4-day championship. Johnson Charles, I think it is, that's his name, who was selected, and we're going to announce the squad a little later.
Johnson Charles,
no.
Talking about John Campbell.
John Campbell, yes. And unfortunately, there was no space for Kyle. Actually, it's Craig Brathwaite, and Neil is a captain. Craig Brathwaite, John Campbell, and I think this is the batting order, perhaps. Craig Brathwaite, John Campbell, the two openers. Casey Carty at 3. Brandon King, Ralston Chase, the captain. Shea Hope, the wicket keeper. Justin Graves, Jamel Warwick, and Alzari Joseph, Shamar Joseph, and Jaden Seals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so there's no room for Kyle Louis. And persons would perhaps be vexed with me, but I really didn't think he would have been in it based on form especially. So that
Form from where?
John Campbell, he would have scored a bit of runs there in the regional 4-day.
Kyle didn't.
I don't think, I believe what happened. I think they may have judged him on his season before, and Kyle did, and I know Sammy, a few persons, even on the onset, with Kavim Hodge and Athenaeus being left out.
I'll say this, this is just my opinion. Kyle doesn't play this match or doesn't play in the series, he's out of the West Indies squad.
Ouch.
And that is what is setting up to happen.
That is a very bold statement.
No, it's not. Because if you look at the move from Sammy, Kevin Hodge, however we want to assess it or look at it, he's our top run scorer in the last 10 matches we played.
And he wasn't in the...
He didn't find himself in the team.
Squad.
In the squad. One of our worst performing batters happened to be Craig Brathwaite. He's in the squad. We have included a couple of players who were playing T20 cricket and one-day cricket. So if you're telling me form, I can't remember the last time Brandon King been in good form.
That's a good,
but
very good question.
He's in the team, and he hasn't scored large amount of runs, large number of runs, in the last couple of innings he's played. So I guess that's the way the coach, who seemingly has ultimate power over cricket now, is moving. He said it's a data-driven, which really he made himself look foolish there, because if we're talking data, what data?
Exactly.
I'm not sure, but Al may have a different take on it. That's just my position.
No, but that's a good point, because I was following a thread, and I forgot the name, with Tajneen Chandapal, with an average of about 33, couldn't find himself in the squad, being dropped some time ago, and persons with averages of 25, as according to this thread, being selected. So that is confusing us with the data. And to be honest, I don't really like the current system. I appreciate the fact that they have these, what do you call them, the different units, the scouts, but the ultimate selection of the coach, I'm not too certain. But I wonder if Sammy didn't bowl us a googly. He was being accused of being Windward Islands biased. And he dropped to Windward Island guys.
Well, clearly the Dominicans don't feel too kindly to it. But if you look at the structure of the T20 team, you'll always ask yourself, how does Johnson Charles find himself in there? So, but Sammy, from the onset, I said I do not have any confidence in him. One, he's not a qualified coach, and I never had that massive respect for his cricketing ability. So I'm just watching to see what will happen. The West Indies team, we have not batted good or well for some time. We left out probably the highest run getter in the Silver. We've also left out Imlak, and we've put Shea Hope to keep. So there's some massive changes, massive calls being made, but it's a left to see. I'm not very impressed with some of the movement, but we can't do anything around it.
And Mr. Mills, No, but
I was awaiting you.
Can I get you all back on track, please?
Oh, sure.
Well, I was waiting until Novel finished.
Well, he said we'll speak the cricket, so I just commented.
And we had to mention that because I don't know if it's
He's on the cricket. I'm not pulling you out, guys, to come to the football. I think I know enough cricket to have a comment.
Oh, yes.
Archive the novel to add a meaningful discussion.
Yep.
Because what I see you all missing is the fact that West Indies cricket is at an all-time low.
Yes, it is.
And the technocrats and those in charge simply do not know how to fix it. So you will be mourn a number of different things because they simply do not know how to fix it, whether it's talent development, whether they're investing in bowlers, batsmen. They don't know. So you're quite until the cows come home. But the situation will not change. We are light years behind countries who have developed their cricket. And how to catch up is a mystery to the West Indies technocrats. That's my take on it. So if Mikhail gets dropped, I won't be surprised. Chandapal comes back, I would not be surprised. I'm seeing these things all over again. It's just like they're in a maze and they don't know what to do. They're just pushing buttons to see what happens.
Well, we could stay here and talk cricket all night, but that's really not the the forte tonight. And these gentlemen, as quiet as Spuddy is, he's an ardent cricket follower, and I know he's itching and waiting to go into football, really.
I'm patient.
And patient. And let us slip there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try to assess the state of St. Kitts and Nevis football, especially the Premiership, our national team, male I should add, at the moment. How far we have advanced, if we're marking time, if we have retrogressed, as it is. And we'll start by saying 2 years ago, there was a lot of song and dance in St. Kitts and Nevis because we had made the Gold Cup. We didn't do well at all. 2 years later, we are not there. The Gold Cup is actually going on right now, and Trinidad is up against it. And I should say the United Arab Emirates, they were second in the zone with the US. I am not so sure I like this idea with teams invited or guest teams. United Arab Emirates, Qatar, France, whoever, whatever. I understand what is being done. But my take is, you look at Trinidad and Tobago. They were third in the last time I checked in the zone, and only the top two going through to the next day. And United Arab Emirates happened to be one. So they are pushing out, and it's good for their football if they were to go on and win the Gold Cup. But what does it do to our football here in the Caribbean? And well, back to the St. Kitts and the Nevis, we had recently had a World Cup qualifiers, Coach Ibu, and we didn't make it to the third round, in which one Caribbean team is guaranteed to go to the World Cup. One guarantee. There are 3 zones now in CONCACAF, and one is a complete all-Caribbean zone. We have Trinidad and Tobago, we have Jamaica, we have Haiti, and we have Curacao. And we have a caller here calling on WhatsApp. Hold 1 second. Let us try and then hold 1 second, please. Good evening, caller. Welcome. Good evening, caller. Welcome to On the Ball here, 2790. Forgive me, I'm not hearing you clearly. How are you hearing me? Could you please call 765-1100? Call me 765-1100, please, caller. As we go back to the football, and we are 145th in the table. Grenada, they were 164. They defeated us. Even if we had won that match, we wouldn't have gone through. With so much money being pumped into St. Kitts and Nevis football from FIFA, from all these years. Spuddy, you were an executive member, and I think it was something like, what, 500,000 US?
At the time.
At the time.
To be honest, I mean, we truly have to ask the question if football is better now in 2025 when we have money And there's never ever going to be enough money to run the affairs of the Football Association or football in general. I come from clubs and I understand. You gotta take small money and try to do big things. I just don't think that enough of the monies from FIFA is being put where it should be to bolster or to boost the football product. We suffer from sometimes myopia in terms of small-minded thinking and even smaller-minded execution of the game of football. Till now, I mean, we're looking at the national team, and you have an influx of almost, what was it, seven overseas-based players that are nationals because they have their passports, and there's not even in this modern era a program to say this guy come from this club, that club, etc., etc. You know, you got to really go and try to look up the player. When I think in this era, social media and all of that, we are supposed to know who these guys are. I almost think sometimes that maybe the FA might be a little embarrassed to say where they're getting them from and the recruitment programs to get the guys here. It's just, to me, not thorough and transparent enough to make us want to say that we are giving it the full support. Because look, we played Grenada here. We played Grenada. Grenada should not have beaten St. Kitts. We should have put them away. And it also puts consideration as to what is going to happen with the coach. Because this seems to be the pattern where we get as far as getting ahead and then we fall behind overnight. It's concerning. Doesn't look good. And we have the money to be better. That's the truth.
Before we go to McCall, what are your thoughts? Before we go to Al. No, before we go to McCall, let us invite your thoughts, Al, as, well, you were first vice president when the monies were coming in. That monies have been increased over the years. And to put things into perspective, there's no national association getting those sorts of monies from the international parent bodies. And let's use that the $500,000. And you're right, Spuddy. I'm not certain, with all the programs we have, the females, the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association, they're looking at an Under 11 program to be starting shortly. But we're still not clearing that hurdle. And I dare say, we can't even really extend dominance in the OECS. Grenada, though we should have beat them.
Let me come in there
yes,
before you lose me. I want to go back to our old saying, where there is no vision, the people perish. And at the moment, the St. Kitts football is perishing because there is no vision. The first thing I want to go on is to jump on the money train by saying that there is not enough financial resources and human resources for us to fund 10 successful football teams at different levels. So the first thing that they are advised, but don't take good advice, is that you have to select which 3 or 4 teams are your most talented teams and build on it. I'm not seeing that happening because they don't believe. So they think that all the teams, you spend a little 200,000 on all the teams and expect them to do well. Cannot happen. Impossible. You cannot train for a World Cup qualifier 3 weeks before and expect to qualify. Similar for the Gold Cup in 2026, this is 2025. What are the plans for preparation for 2026? Is that the biggest secret in St. Kitts?
Well,
and I repeat, there's no vision. There's no vision going forward. So again, we might very well perish on the road of Gold Cup, staying in the League B of the CONCACAF Nations League for next year.
Well, before I say anything,
this is almost over, and you have to decide. Listen, is it our under 33 team as our best team? Is it our under 19 team? Under 15? Under 13? And now I've seen something about under 11. So that's about 12 different teams because you're gonna have the same thing on the female side. You can't afford just to fund 12 teams that will require about maybe $10 to $15 million to prepare properly over time.
Well, thank you for clearing up that. I was going to ask you to clarify for the listeners, what do you mean by teams? Are you referring to on the 17 males, on the 17 females, etc.?
Yes,
etc.?
in the age categories, yes, in the age categories.
You were about to say now.
No, I was about to ask Al from his time as he's a former national coach as well. What is so different today about our football to when you would have been a national coach and our team would have been a lot more successful?
Preparation, that's the key word. I think we spend a lot more time in preparing for the opponents we expected to have. We had a plan. We had a plan along, a strategic plan, and went along those lines. If we're in the World Cup qualifiers, we knew that we're gonna get most likely a WINN Netherlands team, a big Caribbean team with a Trinidad or Jamaica and a Central American team, and therefore, and as well probably a weaker team from the Caribbean. So therefore, you prepare along those lines. If you're gonna get a WINN Netherlands team, be St. Lucia, you want to practice one, a comparative team at a comparative level. Two, you don't have to travel to the windows, and so it must be wet conditions. So every time rain falling in St. Kitts, the national team must be practicing. That's one. Two, I think we agreed that there should have been a blended team of what I call overseas-based locals, as well as the local teams. And you must have a plan for all of them. You know where they come from. There must have been a training program. I hear guys who don't even play for their club team getting into the French scheme. How that is possible? So it comes back to preparation and planning. And where there is no vision, the people perish. And either we have perished or we perishing. That's the stage we're at.
You mentioned a blend of national-based players and overseas-based players. But before we get a little deeper, McCall and Spuddy, you've been, especially you, McCall, you've basically been seeing what we have to offer on the national circuit for the last 2, 3, 4 years you're commentating. Basically, you've been seeing the creme de la creme. In your view, have you seen the football coming? Is it stagnant? And based on Al's statement, how much are you in support of that? Should it be more overseas players with due diligence, of course, Al, or do you think more of the locally based players should be finding themselves in the national team?
Well, the point Spuddy made you wonder about the recruitment of our overseas players, because sometimes you can't see a massive disparity in quality with our overseas players, base players to our local players. Having said that, I sometimes wonder how serious our local base players are. Do they take their craft really seriously? How hard do they work? And I say that because when I was in my 20s watching the footballers of that time, you knew all the national players. Reason why I say that, you would see them running. Whether you drive through Keon, you drive through Basseterre, you're going to see them putting in some kind of work that was not their team's work. But I don't know, I don't see it from any one of the footballers that are playing in this league. I don't need to call the names of the past footballers. So I wonder if they are satisfied with playing in the park, because there is some aspiration to play in Warner Park, which is the Premier League. But that's where you want to stay. And sometimes I get the impression that they're satisfied with that. Not that they don't have the talent, not that they don't have the ability, but their own work ethic would suggest we are comfortable here. And it worries me because another thing that I would have had a conversation with Al about, when you look at the promoted teams, it lends itself to many questions as to, do we need teams promoted? Because the quality that you get from these teams, for whatever reason, is really, really poor. And maybe it's organization, club structure, maybe that it is, but the work is not being put in to make me feel satisfied that our players really want to represent St. Kitts at a seriously high level and take our football forward. we have the conversation of programs and so, yes, but the present players, I think they're pretty comfortable with where they are.
Before I let you come in, Spuddy, and former president of Village Superstars, 6-time champion, national champion, I think it is.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Bang who you could bang.
And when you can't bang them, job with them.
Ali, Troy, what? Now, a few colleagues and myself, we've had the argument. In my days of playing football, we used to put on some miles in the hills, on the beach, on the road. We went from Sandy Point to Deep Bay and back, Sandy Point to Old Road and back. And it wasn't not only just about the fitness, it was the networking. That was the pride again. You're going to Sandy Point, you have a little chant, people coming out and seeing you. You feel big, you feel good. And there's a tendency now, and I think the experts somewhere have come up that since you're playing on the football field, it's better to do 5 miles on the football field, or how many miles on the football field. I have a different view about that. I believe running Frigate Bay and coming back, you get a lot more, because especially them up and down hills and things like that. So you have a chance to build muscles as opposed to running 5 miles in the hills. I don't believe it's 5 miles in Warner Park. So that has come up, and I remember that from the point you made, not seeing the players going, and hence Kayamba. We were told Juve morning and everybody downtown jamming. Kayamba gone Frigate Bay took thing, and when he come back in the park, taking 200 shots, 300 shots at goal or whatever and whatever. And there seems not to be that dedication, that discipline in our national players at any level, even at the local level. It seems that the most practice they do is when they get to the ground to practice with their clubs. I remember in 1990.
And that they don't do on a regular basis.
Okay. And because when you get to the club level, you really, and especially the national level, you're supposed to be practicing strategies. I'm not supposed to be telling you, McCall, how to head a ball, and telling you, Spuddy, how to trap a ball, and telling you, Al, how to pass a ball. We're supposed to be setting, well, we're going to play a 3-5-2 or 4-4-2, and what is your role, and how we kick free kicks from this position. That is my view as a coach. And chipping on that, Spuddy, the level of training on our guys, McCall did mention the commitment.
Well, from my perspective, I do believe that the club teams are the strength of the Football Association. I think more time has to be spent developing club teams, building more club teams. And I often would judge an executive or a term based on how many new clubs you created, how many clubs you kept from dying. And I mean, I remember when Old Road was going through a transition, and Don Grant was dispatched from the FA to take charge of Old Road, to hold Old Road together, and he did it. And you see now Old Road has become a mainstay.
Former FA Cup champions.
FA Cup champions. I mean, they
female champions.
Yes.
If you're not careful with Old Road, they can go all the way. You know what I mean?
I did say that about 2 years ago.
And so I believe if we are paying attention to the clubs in their respective areas. I had a friend of mine who said to me, our national team can't beat their national team, but he is in love with our club football. More energy, like you go to club football matches here in St. Kitts, and everybody wears the jersey, they come out in the numbers because they believe in their respective communities. I don't think enough is coming from the FA side of it. Even corporates and kids.
I want to jump in and agree with that, because one of the shocking things for me when I coached back in 2023 is that even the practice ground at the fans, 15, 20 cars would pull up to see the Kearn team practice.
There we go. People want to know, they want to be a part of it. And I will go back into the village in the era of Noel Heat Zambo, we would be training. I say we because I was part and parcel of it. And he would just show up there and he would bring a truckload of watermelon for the guys, and people sitting on the sideline and watching and saying, well, yeah, I want to see he get a game and that's so and so son. And we must continue to have this. This is where it really, really is. You know what I mean? Which will bring me to another point later on about Final Four and Super Six. Because I think the current format is killing the same spirit of these clubs. And I don't even want to turn this into against this or whatever, but look at this. We were encouraged from the very onset in football that football clubs should adopt community places and schools and so forth. And I see St. Paul's went through a thing where they lost a game against Sandy Point because they had to play a match against Sandy Point on a day when St. Paul's Primary
School
had the sports day. And I think the FA dropped the ball. The FA should have said, boy, they were given early notice that, boy, we can't play this match, you know. Because, one, the players got children in the school. You ask us to adopt the school. We must support the school. We're going to go a holy ribbon. We're going to do this. We got different things we must do. And not only that, this is the Envy community. And St. Paul's gave the players the choice. If you want to come, come. If you don't want to come, don't come. And they went and they played the match still because they could have said, men showing up. And this is my core problem. The communities where these clubs come from are not loved by the leadership of football. I think if you love the communities, you get more out of it. More out of it. The more the passion and more the rivalry, the good rivalry, not a war, but a football war, so to speak, where one community is bantering with another and so forth. Where that don't exist, I remember, Village and Keyon played. We did a charity, football for cricket, and I learned to respect Keyon. They were the champions then, and that is how we in the village kind of get wheels and we wagon. Yeah. After watching them and said, but this thing is serious, and we had to copy it and master it. Sorry, Al. They exposed themselves, and we went over and we write down. In cricket, when them Brian Lara, them would go South Africa, the poor man to sit down in the stand and say, okay, you bowl 4 ball over there, you're going to get 1 6 out of it, but he gone out. He must out.
Yeah, the analyzing of the stats.
It's the same thing we have to do. My pet peeve is the communities are not being embraced. Like, for example, the village will challenge, and we would love to see Buckley's come back. You go to the FA, they shut you down. It's like they ain't want no more clubs.
Newton Ground.
How you go and want no more clubs? You want as many clubs as you could get.
Possible.
But you see, people playing politics.
Well, I support a lot of what Spuddy is saying. The reason for that is I didn't play a lot of football because after I made the national cricket team, I quit football the little I could play. But my community mansion had a team, and my recollection from this is that every community, starting from Keys, coming my way, had a football team at the time in second class. Right. So when we speak of football, I said to somebody up to today in a conversation, I still feel like football is not doing well because every community had a football team, maybe not a cricket team, but every community produced a football team. And Spuddies talk about rivalry. We have Premier League rivalry, but there was a massive second division rivalry that existed that helped to produce, because at the time St. Paul's wasn't in Premier. St. Paul's was a second division team that was yo-yoing for some time. But how do you, if what Spuddy is saying is correct, how do you now get back a couple more communities? It may not be all from on these sides having a football team, because as I said, you had a situation where you had Keys, Keon had two teams. Lodge Atlas, Molineux, Mansion, Tabernacle, Sadlers, Pass and Gong, Diepbe. So the Pass and Gong had a separate team to Diepbe. St. Paul's, Newton Ground, Sandy Point, and you come right
St.
around.
Paul's had youth and experience as well.
There you go. So if it is the club structure is not good and we are losing clubs as opposed to gaining clubs, that means we're in a problem. How do we rectify that?
And we recall easily, I think it was last year, with Newton Ground and Hard Times. I think two of the teams that were basically prevented
from exercising the franchise.
Justifiably so or not, they were kicked out of the football fraternity.
How could that make sense?
And they're not here. And I'm passionate about this community thing, because way back when you would have had, say, a Rovers, you had players from Sandy Point, players from Keon, players from all over, and you didn't have that community spirit in Rovers. When you hear Keon now at the Village on Newtown, St. Paul's, playing Old Road, especially with the advent of these lot of replica jerseys, which I am in full support of.
Yeah, man.
Even little children, Spuddy, you see him wearing them, so that even encouraging me to go and get a baby, so he could he actually could wear a thing. And you're looking at all these community teams and that rivalry. And speaking of rivalry, the game in Vochal, Sandy Point Old Road, a few nights ago, that was a revenge game by St. Paul's, based on what you said.
Yeah.
They didn't come to beat Sandy Point, They come to stamp their authority on Sandy Point and show them that, hey, you only beat us first round because most of the players, the whole team, went to sports day. I agree that game should have been put off. And I know the FA made an effort when they were supposed to be the inter-school over in Nevis this year, I think. Sometime they had put off the games.
The weekend didn't have football.
Yes,
because the anticipation that there would have been the inter-school during the...
And I support that. When we have our national competitions, especially key games, finals and so in basketball, don't tell me who aren't go basketball going basketball and who aren't go football or cricket going. Because at the end of the day, about 30% of the people who are in the supporters...
Overlapping.
Yes. Going football, going basketball. And some people, they're just going really something tonight. I don't back football, I don't back cricket, but because it happens.
It's something that's happening.
Exactly. So that community spirit, and those two teams that are out and you're not seeing, you didn't hear them this year, any effort they made to try and get into the league this year. How do you see that happening? How do you see that affecting our football overall, as Spuddy and McCall saying? You there with us, Al?
I could comment on that.
Yes, please.
I think that Hard Times in Nevis had a budding female team. They were not so strong on the male side, but on the female side of it. I thought that by now we would have seen the birth of a new team in the Newton Ground area. So there's nothing there. So there's a void. Thank God for the boldness of the combined forces of the defense force and the police and fire services to give us a team. Thank God for that. Thank God for Rivers to give us a team, because teams are coming from places that they don't normally come.
Right. No community-based.
No, they're not community-based. So the truth is, if they're not community-based, you won't flourish.
Support, yeah.
I don't care much fertilizer you put on it. It's not going to blossom. It's going to exist. And they're going to do things now and again. You know what I mean? But if I was the FA, I would be concerned concerned that we are not building the communities with football.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're hearing you now. Welcome back.
Oh. I think I know what happened. But go ahead,
So we need to, the FA needs to place emphasis on rebuilding or reconnecting with these communities. It's too important. I mean, yes, we're moving around the football now. So I also believe that the FA, through the assistance of the Ministry of Sports and Government, more investment should be made in the community fields. I know they're doing a lighting program, but guess what? Village still can't play a match up there. And we need to be able to play up there. Because football...
Don't go there, Spuddy. On which field?
Eventually, take it
Not Pat Yellows.
Well, over South Stars, wherever it is.
Don't
all I'm saying is that investment has to be made so that footballers stop crime.
Of course.
Sports in general will stop crime.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Because Dongo used to do a midnight football.
That was a big hit.
That was a big hit. And you saw crime in the Newtown area just come down because I can't play football. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just saying, it's just the simple thing. And then we can find some more talent to come and play in the national program, which is the end game. At the end of the day, guess what? We played Grenada. Up to when we losing, we still believe we could beat Grenada. Well, at least for me. And we lost the game and we didn't go away feeling good at all. Because I'm telling you, they ain't better than us, respectfully. They're not better than us. And sometimes I just said this, if I playing a sport against you, and I'm not sure if I can beat you, and you will benefit more than me, I'm sorry, but I'm not playing you. Me, I only play big people. I want that even when I lose, my ranking go up by 3. You got to play people bigger than you. You can't be playing some of these minnows.
Well, it lends me to ask a question, because since the administration, our ranking has been falling rapidly.
145 now.
Is it an interest? I spoke about vision, but is it really an interest of the FA to see our ranking go up?
I don't think
I'm not of that impression. But that's just a comment there. I wanted to inquire or to tax Al's mind a little bit, since we're talking community. He had a period in time.
Yeah, I was trying to come in there.
When I could remember, there was a massive youth program. Spuddy might have been playing them times. Where on a Saturday morning,
Yellow Man came
you go around the island and football. You play against, well, Mansion might go Village and St. Peter's might go St. Paul's. Al might have been a coach then. What was the benefit we received from that? What did we receive from that, Al?
Well, I could call a few names that came out of that league. The one most outstanding is people like Keith Campbell Gums. Campbell used to mash up that league. And then you saw the emergence of those teams. The same teams that won that league won the senior league 10 years after. If you go back to the history, you'd note that St. Paul's and Keon were dominant teams in those youth leagues. And then 10 years after the age category, that is when St. Paul's and Keon dominated at the top. So it's a spin-off, as I said before. Ignoring these communities, the effect you're going to see is like 10 years later, not tomorrow.
So I haven't been a part of the football administration. So why would we have moved away from systems like that? Is it something from moved away from systems like that? Is it something from FIFA that brought about the change in?
No, just poor administration in my opinion.
Poor administration of the clubs, the community teams?
The FA, in terms of investing in these clubs and organizing, implementing, and executing programs of this nature.
Because something is wrong, eh? I remember when he used to have a big league
we know something
in
wrong, and we know why a management like that with such a poor effect on football was voted back in, because it has hardly anything to do with football and football development. We know that. I mean, I know that.
And as recently as last year, Newton Ground, and I think they were over 14, but I remember Newton Ground had hard times.
Newton Ground had time, and the
Youth
team
and
from
experience.
Youth and
Youth and
Experience,
Experience.
and the team from
Challengers.
Allwood. What it was?
Yes.
Trinity, St. Thomas Trinity.
Yeah.
St. Thomas Trinity, yeah. So they are no longer there. And Old Road, for example, they had 5 players on the national team sometime last year, which was a force for them. 5 players. We may argue how many of them really deserve to be there, but the fact is, 5 of those rural community teams, 5 of the members were there. And over the years, we have seen the decline of the number of clubs, because I remember way back when we would have had 3 divisions. Before we went to Premier, we had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd division. There was some talk about doing that perhaps this year, next year, and we have just 20 clubs now. 10 in the 1st, 10 in the 2nd. Sorry, 10 in the Premier, 10 in the 1st. And that brings me to another point. Over the years, I'm going to use Sandy Point. When I first played for Sandy Point back in 1985, we won the 2nd division then, got promoted to the 1st. The next season, we were relegated just as fast as we came up. So that's 40 years ago. 40 years running since. Sandy Point has never, and I'm not picking on Sandy Point. That's a team I know that has been up how many times? Almost every other year, and going back down the same year.
But Biff, if I may defend Sandy Point, Sandy Point is doing something unique. Look at what Sandy Point is doing. Sandy Point is where Bath was a few seasons ago. They are embracing their position and not thinking superficially to say, well, I'm going to make the 4. They are saying, you know what happened here? Me ain't going down here.
Survival.
Me ain't going down. And Spotty theory is correct. I'm going to bang who I could bang, and I'm jaw who I could jaw it. And Sandy Point has put themselves above Mantab
relegation
and who's the other team? Security Forces, and will continue to push to beat those 2 teams every time to make sure that they ain't go wrong. And they will build and build, and as they build, knock on the doors of players, 1 or 2, and there are about 4 players from Sandy Point who are playing in other clubs that are pretty good.
Who could make the team
and
a lot
they're going
better.
to shop for them
and
make themselves attractive. Because football is not just put on a jersey and go play. You can make a thing attractive. It's the same thing I would express to say like a Molyneux, because it is told that Molyneux has 3 or 4 players in Keon.
Yeah.
But they just have to make themselves attractive so that they could possibly attract these players.
Settlers have a couple of players out too.
So my thing is, Sandy Point is doing something unique. Sandy Point is making a statement quietly, we ain't going down.
And to add to what you're saying, Spuddy, I think they have invested in 3 overseas players, so to speak.
But you have to fake it till you make it. You got to do what you got to do.
And
they are competing really well. They're competing.
The same mindset that they have to have when they go into games.
Yeah, of course.
You don't go into a game with an opponent who you know is much tougher than you, and for the open-ended football, but them. You go in there to frustrate them until you can get ahead. And if you can't get ahead, you drop.
Yeah.
But you don't go and play open-ended football and take a 5-0 and 6-0. And that is what Bath did. I'm very familiar with Coach Alex Claxton, and Bath was always training and always a mindset that, hey, listen, I'm not going to let you beat me easy. Once upon a time, Bath was a 5-0 team. How you want for 3-2, 1-1? Nowadays, they go down to 20 so you have to struggle to get them 1-0.
You got fight.
And if you play them in Nevis, your chances of winning drops considerably.
But the point I was making with the Sandy Point.
But I noticed I want to make a point that you all guys were lamenting about clubs around the various communities. Again, it comes back to the politics of football, because I understand the rules were changed to prevent clubs without senior teams from voting. If a club decide, listen, I can't manage to have a senior team to be competitive, but I have a youth team, they're not considered to be a part of the association. That
is
has to
weird
change.
because youth is what going to keep you going.
Exactly. And that is something
Strange.
that even youth and experience suffered from. And because they were basically just concentrating on youth development to, as it were, feed St. Paul's. And but the thing about it is, and it goes back to the development, when we have
That's
teams,
how money. Let me just jump in there. That's how money you go because
from the
Kevin, with all due respect to him, Kevin, he said, listen, I don't care about how I will about young players. I'm not just continued by young players.
Exactly.
All the time. Kevin said, when he said that you should have players over 16 and over, Kevin is like 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, even 10-year-olds.
Even
Now
if
they're reaping the benefits.
Exactly.
So how could you say that a team, a club with only youth in it, cannot be a part of your political structure?
I think that's what you
and,
want.
and people, right-minded people, vote for that.
But then it goes back to Al, the politics of it. You have the technical elements.
They don't find themselves on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, you have the technocrats, the technical people. You go out and the coaching and you're playing, but somebody in each club must be fair with the rules and regulations and the statutes to deal with the political element. Because one, I cannot see the benefit of changing from elections every 4 years to I can call elections anytime I want. So if for whatever reason I feel like calling elections in the next 2 months, I can do that. The Constitution allows for that. And like you mentioned, the youth team, you have to have senior teams. So if some community halfway tree, they decide, well, we want to just concentrate on development of girls, and we are under 13 boys, and they have under 13 girl, under 15 girl, or whatever, a girls team and under 13 boys. You're telling me that they cannot have and they should not have voting rights for the SKNFA? I don't believe that is right. I don't believe that is fair. And hence, the clubs which pay a critical part, the admin of the clubs.
Right-minded people went in and voted for that and think they are doing so fine.
And
why?
These are the things that help to develop or not develop the national team, on my view. It's not only what the national team do.
That's the word, we're perishing because of those things.
Exactly. And I still was getting at the point that the FA needs to seriously take a look at the first division. Because and I use the point, the 40 years, teams coming up and going down, generally 95% of the teams that came up went back down the same year. And some of them we haven't seen since. KFC Trinity Challengers, they made the premiership some time ago. They're like 8 in the first division now. And Newtown went down and they hold in their own. Mantab went down a couple seasons ago and they're missing out for their third, fourth. And we have, Rivers, they played Premier some time ago. And kudos to them for making Premier with their system, their structure, coming from a church-based team. Yeah. And the first time I think that was done in St. Kitts and Nevis football. But they've gone down. But the question is, what could the FA do to make the first division teams more competitive? And I've been in two discussions on two sides of the border.
And at the same time, introduce a second division. But introducing a second division means that you may lose power. So you're not interested in that.
Well, I was going to say, I've been involved in discussions on two ends of the spectrum. One discussion saying, well, boy, if we take a snapshot now, the 3 teams that came up last year, they are number 8, 9, and 10. The last 3. Mm-hmm. So one part of the discussion is maybe the FA needs to cut the premiership to just 8 teams with 1 team coming up and 1 team going out, which would perhaps and play 3 rounds of football, home, away, and on a neutral ground. And Spuddy, this is where Spuddy might get a chance to find a home ground for him. You could use Sandy Point, I don't think they'll argue. But if you play home, away, and a neutral, you go to Keon, you play a game in Keon. Keon play in Newtown, you go to Newtown, you play a game there. And the neutral, maybe the Park or St. Peter's, I don't know. And then you have 12 teams. Expand from 12 from 10 to 12, and you have a Super 6 body, as you mentioned earlier, with 2 teams going up and 2 teams coming down. And for the record, I never ever did agree with the number 8 team in the Premier playing the number 3 team in the first to see who going to win and go up. I never did support that.
Yeah.
You
I
decide.
think they're about it now.
Yeah, they
I
have
think
the
about it
season.
now.
You decide from if it's 2 going up, 2 coming down, 1 going up, 1 going down, but don't the playoff and playoff thing.
But look at this. Put a little spin on it. Super 4 versus Super 6. In the Super 4, right, you have 3 teams. You have 4 teams playing 3 matches. That's 12. And then you have a finals of 3 matches. So that's 15. But if you play a Super 6...
Let's spotty.
What you say,
Less than that.
No.
So 12 way to that 6.
Yeah,
you have 9 matches in now.
No, but each team... You're correct. Yeah. So you can't play the same. So it's basically 3 by 3.
6 and 3, 9.
Yeah. Right? And if you play the Super 6, you put yourself in a position for more revenue. Not only that, you impact some of the, you got the top 4 teams most of the times. But you also have some small minnows who may swim the right way once and make it in. They can't win it, But the fact is they're in there. So Miss Maisie and John Paul from wherever gonna come to see the team from wherever make it in the park. And they may just win. Because if the big teams don't show up. So I am always about inclusion. It's about getting more teams to play. And through getting more teams to play, you can positively impact the revenue to the gate. I give the FA full kudos for the way they've handled the first division. Because the first division is now a decent enough football because of the emphasis put on it and sometimes played before a Premier game that you could come and play and watch some pretty decent first division football. So it's I give them full...
Slow down with your kudos because I think that the presence of Newton and Spurs in the first division is what has impacted that product. Plus, 1 or 2 other teams being competitive, like Bay and
Sadlers.
So it's like you have 4 farm of Premier teams in the first division right now. And I think that is what giving us the kudos. Plus, according to the minnows, who always want to go after them.
Well, yeah.
Which is what I've been saying all the time. You need a zone in between the Premier and First. We could have 6 or 8 competitive teams vying for a place up in the Premier. And then all the way down in Division 2. So you could imagine a first division with Bay, Sadlers, Newton, Spurs.
Village.
Well strong now.
Village.
Mantab. Mantab go back down.
South Stars, the Farmers, the Village Galaxy.
South Stars and South Stars, sorry. Mantab and South Stars. That will be a good product to look at. Because each batch will be at least competitive. There wouldn't be a wide gap between its opponents. And I think that is what is improving the product down there. The caliber of the team that are there right now. So I just wanted to slow down with your kudos to the FA.
Yes, sir.
So, but let me see if I could.
So Spuddy, you're basically saying you would prefer a Super 6 as
Super
opposed
6.
to a 4.
And based on what you're saying to Al, you're suggesting a 3-tier system, Premier, First, and Second Division.
Correct.
So that means Premier will be 8 teams.
Yeah. So does that mean you drop Premier to 8?
8, 9, yeah.
Okay. Playing 2 rounds or 3?
3.
3 rounds. More football.
You're in support of that, gentlemen?
Yeah.
3 rounds of football.
So that would be a recommendation that perhaps the...
But the home and away system will be very difficult, if not impossible, because you only have 5 grounds outside of Warner Park that can host home and away per se. There is 5 grounds.
Although
so those 5 teams must be in Premier.
But suppose...
In other words, I'm saying 5 grounds that are of Premier teams.
But suppose... So...
Well, at the moment.
A team like Security Forces,
Yeah, they have no home ground.
You have to play in
They
the
have,
park.
to, they have to identify, they could identify a home ground and say Sandy Point or St. Paul's is my home ground.
Yeah,
Can
they
they?
could do that. It's possible.
And now McCall made a point. Suppose they say, hey, the park is my home ground.
That gonna be play an advantage, probably an unfair advantage to a fair advantage,
One way or the other.
One way or the other, to the ground, to the real home ground.
It could be
For
worked out.
instance,
It could be worked out incrementally because every area, community can't get the ground at the same time. I mean, it's an investment that has to come from upstairs, where the country has to say, this is worth it, we are going to invest the money in it. Connery has gotten their grounds.
I forgot
I
Connery.
am excited about that because that looks like Village is next. So, I mean, 6 championships. Six championships, you know.
That got to come for something.
Lord, man.
Got to come for something.
Till now, people from Spurs saying that by voting, our grounds is not even in the village. The grounds in constituency too. So we have problems. You see what I'm saying? But I believe that if the FA would listen and have opportunities for football pundits and community lovers to come to a common place and speak their mind, they will benefit a lot better. But they ain't interested in that. The president of the FA can't even walk through the park, Warner Park, free. He don't walk through.
Well, that's a good point, Spuddy, to take a break. You're listening to On The Ball here at WINN FM 98.9. It is now about 8:32, so we're going up to 9 o'clock, and football, most passionate, the number one sport in St. Kitts and Nevis. Some may argue track and field. But stick and stay, don't go away. We'll be right back with Al Edwards online, Spuddy and McCall live in studio, and we're going to be talking much more football. Stick and stay, don't go away. Happening in sport, tune in to On The Ball, a weekly tour show which is on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. with me, your host, Troy Bif Mills. We will keep you on the ball with our variety of guests and, of course, your calls, discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On The Ball with Troy Bif Mills on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball. Do you want to know what's happening in sport? Tune into On the Ball, a weekly tour show which is on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. with me, your host, Troy Bif Mills. We will keep you on the ball with our variety of guests and, of course, your calls, discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On the Ball with Troy Bif Mills on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball. Welcome back to On the Ball here at WINN FM 98.9. We're heading on the last stretch, boy. When you're having fun, time really flies, because just when we got in, I thought we had the whole time. But this conversation has really been intense and non-stop. We have with us in studios Mr. Norval McCall, former national cricketer, but we're talking football really tonight, and football commentator for the last 3-4 years, 5 years, McCall?
3 years.
3 years. And we have with us Mr. Troy Spuddy Hendrickson, former member of the National St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association, former president of the Rams Village Superstars, the new leaders in the Premiership. Bang who you could bang, draw it who you can bang. I love that. And, as well as he's a football lover. He backs good football. Yes, he wants Village to win all the time. And he'll tell you they deserve to lose, because whoever team played the better football and Village didn't play. That's the man. He talks it like how we see it. And then we have online coach Al Edwards, Coachy Boo, former first vice president of the SKNFA 2 terms, as well as a national youth, senior footballer, coach, everything else, and he's now part of the technical team in terms of the qualifications. Well, I have to check that and let him confirm. I know he was. I don't know if he still is. And we seem to have lost Al, but he'll be back with us in a second or two. And really, the state of St. Kitts and Nevis football, 1,001 reasons why it might be so, what recommendations, and we have been having some recommendations, playing 3 divisions, 8 teams in the first 3 rounds, etc. More development in the community teams, the clubs themselves, as well as grounds, and as Al would have said, perhaps not concentrating on so many national teams at these levels, males and females. One would argue with that, and somebody mentioned introducing another. It's interesting. Al is saying too many age categories, but the suggestion to introduce another age category to link the under 19 to the national team.
Well, I don't think that's what he said. What he was suggesting was to invest in the best one.
Okay.
So that, because you would never have enough money to
invest in
pump in all of them equally to get the results you're looking for.
But then again, which would be the best one?
But that assessment must be made by the...
They drop the under 13, drop the under 15, or drop the under 17.
It's not dropping them, but the most of the
investment
will be channeled in that direction.
But then again, ladies and gentlemen, how much would those statistics tell us? How much can we rely on it? I start with the fact before we go to the points table and try to get a vision of that. We are 145. We're still 145 on the FIFA ranking. Grenada 164. They beat us. And how the draw for the CONCACAF teams are done, you have the top tier and two middle tier, etc. So basically, one tier from all the tiers. That's how we end up playing Cayman Islands, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they are like, 208, 209. So even those, and you mentioned that, the minnows, as it were, they get a chance. And you made a point I wanted to touch. You at St. Kitts and Nevis at 145, Spuddy. You're suggesting that they play teams of a higher ranking than we are.
That's correct, yeah. We should.
But why should I at 110 want to play you at 135? And we have a call on the line. We say good evening. Welcome to On the Ball. You're live on WINN FM 98.9.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I'd like to big up my team.
Sorry, repeat, please.
I'd like to big up my team to be in the second place.
Which team is that?
SL Hartford, St. Paul's.
Okay, so you're happy with SL Hartford's ending the season and in second place?
I said, right now they're in second place. They're moving up.
Oh, they're moving up. And that's a big point because a few weeks ago they were at number 6 or thereabout and they've been inching up steadily. So you're one of the big supporters for St. Paul's?
Of course.
And who's your favorite player on the team?
My favorite player?
Yes.
K.Y. Freeman.
K.Y. Freeman.
Yes.
They will be playing Bath on Saturday the 5th. Who do you think going to come out on top?
St. Paul's.
Why you pleased? Because you're back in St. Paul's? Suppose Bath throw an upset on them.
I'm not go against my team.
You're going against the team. But
I have full confidence.
You have full confidence?
Yes.
Okay.
Even when they lose, I still up there with them.
I support that, and I like the fact that females are following the football as well. A lot of females.
I love football. I love sports on a whole. I love sports.
And Helena, I think it is Freeman. Helen Freeman. Helen. As far as I'm concerned, she's one of the top female supporters in the country. Even if St. Paul's down 10-0, she believes St. Paul's could win the game still. And you have people like her. You have yourself, you have Beulah, who is strong with Newtown, and you have Lulu. Right. And Lulu is really a sportswoman, not just football. Cricket, if they got pitching.
Carol Freeman too.
Carol Freeman, yes. And some of the footballers, the parents, the ardent females especially, I would have thought at Sandy Point High School. And it's really good to see them, and a lot of them, they have youngsters, brothers, sisters, sons playing, and of course they would have had the bad patch where the Dango lost his brother a few weeks ago, and a female, a strong, I think she was the mother, the sister of some of the players again, and it's unfortunate, and condolences to the family. But we thank you for coming and sharing your view. Okay, have a good night. So the stats, we were mentioning, why should I at 120 want to play you at 145? For the same reason you don't, at 145, don't want them to play at a team at 180.
Well, it honestly comes down to negotiations. And the truth is, the bigger teams also want to practice. And they are going to select an opponent that they are comfortable beating, or at least can compete with them for
get a good game out of
75 minutes, and then they beat you down the stretch. So I always think that, and they're a little bit more organized than some of the smaller clubs. For example, St. Kitts right now is struggling with places like St. Martin and so on. Them is things that it would just be how much it gonna be again? You know, we really beat them up. So kudos to them as well too. They've improved. I don't know if we've gone backward. I think we've gone backward, to be honest. I mean, we struggled with St. Vincent, and then the big bad BVI, Good Evening Tinny, draw 1-1 or something like that with them, and you can't understand it, like what's going on.
But we haven't won a game for some time,
It's been a minute.
Yeah, we haven't won a game for a while. We've been struggling to win games.
So what does that tell us?
Cayman, I think. Well, it speaks to where we are, and sometimes the stats will tell you where you are, and you just need to assess where we are and drastic decisions. Spuddy mentioned very early about the coach. What happens to the coach? What are we going to do? What decision is going to be made?
We were down at 73 back in 2013, 14, 15, 16, somewhere down there.
Somewhere in there.
Do you gentlemen think we'll ever get down to those sort of numbers again? 70s, 80s?
I was positive. I think we can.
It will just take time. And it can't be with this group of players. You have to look down the road. You must look at a group of players, you're under 15s, start working on them and blood them into a national team, and then you could work with that system. But it'll be very difficult to get to 70 plus with this present group of players.
Well, we know the Cubans and the Russians, they basically start with the team. I think Haiti, I remember the whole football squad was wiped out some time ago with an earthquake, and they had to start rebuilding. And when we look at even India in cricket, a lot of them will tell you the current test players now, we've been playing cricket since under 13, under 11, coming up, that investment. And that reminds me of Lenny Lake. Back in 2010, 2009 or 10 or thereabout, he called me in his office, and he put down a plan that blew my head. His plan was that we get about 40, 50, 60 youngsters, and we pull them from the parents, we school them, 5 subjects, not these 8 and 10 and 15, 5 subjects, and they do schooling and football, and we work on them. Weekend they could go home with the parents could come and sleep in with them or whatever, but we work with these at the under 9, 10, 13, I can't remember the age, with the view that what we're saying in the next 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, they become the national core, and they would have been working together. He wasn't successful in convincing the powers that be how important that was. But if we get to the point system here, can we use the point system to give us an indication what the St. Kitts and Nevis football is looking like and what? If we start at the bottom, security forces, Elko Limited security forces, they can't score a goal. And if you can't score a goal, you can't win a match, you might draw. But they haven't even won a match, so they're at 0. Mantab, 5 points. They've won 1, they've drawn 2. One of them was with Sandy Point. They're on 5, and those 2 are in the relegation zone. If security force has been relegated as yet, I'll say no, they have 6 more matches to play. Because
Agreed.
9 and 9, they have 18 points. They could get 18 points. It's possible. If they get there, that's a different kettle of fish.
By default, perhaps.
Sandy Point,
them winning again.
Sandy Point just above 3 points above Mantab with 8. That's 1 match. If Mantab win 1 match, they reach up to 8 points. And Sandy Point, they've been on 8 a pretty long time. But finding the formula to stay up, as it were, they are on 7th and 14 points. So they are 6 above Sandy Point and 9 above the relegation Mantab. Montreal Farms, Old Road United Jets, they are 6th and 20 points. Now this is where it's interesting, guys. They are 6, 20. There's the final 4 and 2, but they are 20 points, just 6 points below the leaders, Village on 26, and second place St. Paul's on 26. And there's just 5 points behind Connery in 3rd and 25. 4 points behind Keon in 4th and 24. And 2 points behind St. Peter's in 5th and 20. What does that tell us about how the balance of this season is going to be shaping up?
Well, it definitely tells you that the Premier Division is competitive. at least for the top 6 teams, and you have to be very, very careful with the way you shop. You almost have to shop always with your A game, because a slip of the tongue, it's not faulted in mine. But, if you slip, you slide.
Mm-hmm.
Keon yesterday in first place,
Mm-hmm.
and went back to Keon in fourth place from one game.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how the table is like quicksand. It's moving rapidly. The breaks, right now we're going to take a break for Music Fest. Well needed too, but it sometimes is disruptive. It disrupts momentum. It gives momentum and so forth. Players who need a little rest, they could get a little break now and so forth. I'm not even sure when we're going to get back into Warner Park, because how I see Warner Park looking right now. But I know.
Not before August.
That gonna need some love.
A lot of love.
A lot.
So I agree with Spuddy. The table really reflects a level of competitiveness that exists in the Premier Division right now. Keon led the table for the entire first round and first 2 games until they lost against Village on Sunday. So it's the business end of the league. Second round, which will determine where you're placed in terms of top 4. Now, if you look at the top 4 for last year or last season, you needed 34 points to get in.
Separate.
Yeah, 34 points got you into the top 4. And Keon just got in at 4th position after leading for some time as well. So where we are tells you probably need to get to about 36, 34 points
to be safe.
In the top 4. So Keon, they have lost the last 2 games, St. Peter's and Village. They would have drawn with Old Road in the first match in the second round. So they have only picked up a point in the second round thus far.
A point from 3 matches.
Right. Whereas Village, on the other hand, would have lost 1 win too. So they're gathering momentum. And Keon, historically, they have struggled in second rounds of football tournaments for some time. Culturally, that's a culture in their club they will have to break. So they would need to gather some momentum after the break. And they're coming up against Sandy Point. And one of the things I've said, at this stage in the tournament, you can't take Sandy Point lightly. They scored first against St. Paul's. They were... I commentated the game with Bart. In my humble view, they dominated the Bart game. And when I say dominated, first 20 minutes, they should have been up 2-0. Minimum 2-0 with the number 1-on-1 chances that they had. So you can't play, they can't play Sandy Point lackadaisical. They are competing, and Keon has struggled for goals. There's also something in sports that when you're playing tournaments, you need to peak at the right time.
Yep.
Clearly, St. Paul's, Rams Village Superstars are starting to
head towards that peaking period.
Right. St. Peter's as well.
St. Peter's played probably one of the best matches against Keon.
Yeah, they are. Look, and I knew security forces would have gotten between 6 to 9 because of how they played against Keon. The passing game looked really good. So they are a team that we could almost say starting to look good at this stage of the tournament. But Spuddy made the point of breaks. Those things, I'm not around any of the clubs, so I don't know the challenge that clubs face to keep fellas mentally engaged and in terms of practice and so forth.
Well, I can tell you, Macau, I really do not believe with all of my heart that Thursday, Friday, Saturday is going to be any productive anything with the clubs. I think most, if not all the guys,
going music.
No, well, that should be a break, but it's not the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Is next week, Tuesday, if you're going to get them back.
They're going to be recovering from the weekend.
Because the games start on the 5th, which is what? Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
So
Friday
it means the issue is not Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. That is expected. They're supposed to enjoy themselves. Is if you're going to get them back. And I didn't say Monday, I said Tuesday.
And what frame of mind they're going to be in when they come?
So that is why when...
And we have a call, gentlemen. Good evening, caller. Welcome to On the Ball here at WINN FM 98.9. Hello? Good evening. We are not hearing you. I don't know if you're hearing us, caller. We seem to have lost that call. And we must say good night to Errol Wallins, who is online listening us, and Tito up in Canada. And I got some not so good news today, gentlemen. Mr. Eustace Hendrickson. He worked cable and wireless for donkey years.
Oh, Eustace.
He retired and he's in Texas. I got a WhatsApp from his daughter saying that he's not doing well at all. I missed him last week on the program because he normally either calls and sends me a message. We go to the lines again. Good evening, caller. Welcome to On the Ball here at WINN FM 98.9.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Me again, Sandy Point playing good ball, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sandy Point playing good.
So you think they could go on to win any of the other matches?
I mean, please. When the man St. Paul was playing, they tried to outplay me again, but this time, I deal with them this time.
But let me ask you a question. When the Sandy Point really had chances and they were keeping out St. Paul's, up to when the goalkeeper, up to when their goalkeeper had that mistake which allowed
that's what I'm telling you.
Freeman to keep. Sandy Point. So, I know we won't be able to tell, but that goal, I think, it broke the Sandy Point back. I don't think they got back, and then a simple error, ball bounced, tap it in the back of the gate. And a few minutes after,
the second one, the second half, get in trouble.
Yeah. So you see them?
Yeah, watching them, man.
Okay. So does that mean when St. Paul's not playing, you're back in them? You're back in Sandy Point?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm from the countryside, yeah.
Okay. And where you calling from?
I'm not playing
St. Paul.
St. Paul.
Okay. So it's
well,
good.
Play me? No. I said, no, man. Sandy Point, I'm going to tangle up my foot. I said, no, not again. When they scored on me foot, I said, no. No come better than that. I can't bring the scope on me foot.
But they had you tangled up for the first half.
That's what I said. They had you tangled up my foot.
So when...
So I said, they got to come better than that.
When they went halftime, Sandy Point up 1-0, how you believe the game would have ended up after the second half?
Oh, I said, when they got in, they have to study that and come back with a different strategy. Come back with a different mentality, come back outside with a different ball game.
Okay.
Not this kind of ball game they really had first. So they come out flat in the first half. So
you think
After they wake up, he won goal, they wake them up.
And so you think Trizan is doing a very good job, an excellent job with St. Paul's? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay, and Jamal as well, because Jamal is assistant. All right, thank you for calling.
Okay,
bye. I really have a thing about females backing teams into sports, because traditionally females are maybe just getting into it, but the female supporters, to me, they bring something different to sport.
There's a lady from, I want to say, either Sadler's or Mantab, and she comes to the park and she just say, yeah. Is Sadler's or Mantab?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, kind of middle-aged lady. She followed, it's Sadler's. She followed that team everywhere. Sadler's, yeah.
And talking about Sadler's, at the end of the game, there was a lady and her daughters down the bottom of the road, and they say man tap to the wall. No matter what happened, they sport man tap to the wall.
I mean, you're talking about women, they're generally very loyal in anything they do. So if you have their support, they're going to be supporting your club like that. But I think it stems from, parents getting children who are involved in sports, you naturally kind of lean towards supporting your kids. But it's critical. The football has changed. The event of the replicas and so forth, it brings a different feel, and there's a level of pride that supporters wear their jerseys with. So it's important. I just think that should give players a little more impetus to respect the club and the work that should go in to ensure they want to win, of course, but ensure that you play with a pride and a passion for your club. But the table, it's tough to call. There are some favourable fixtures for some teams on the back end in terms of, potentially getting points. But this is a game-by-game situation where teams would be required to come out and play hard every game in order to be able to get into the four. But I'll simply say that I think the teams that would have won in recent years, there's a know-how. and the teams I'm referring to, a Village and St. Paul's, there is a know-how, and I'm not counting out Keon by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that Village didn't get in last year, so there is a different hunger. They won the FA Cup. That's trophy down, and there is a hunger to ensure that we are in the four to stake a claim for the championship. So it's not going to be easy over the next 6 fixtures for the rest of the teams. You will have to play well, and don't count out Connery either. Hence the reason I say it's very difficult at this stage to say the teams. I wouldn't call a 4 just yet, because there are a lot of games to play, and it's the business end of the tournament, and teams are going to be playing hard. What might make the difference maybe is the fact that the games are not played in Warner Park, and they're not played on perhaps as familiar a ground as Warner Park. Could make a little difference.
Depth of squad too is a serious challenge.
Injuries.
St. Paul's goes to represent the Federation
Club Championships.
Trinidad. I think they go about the 22nd of July.
Yeah.
And that in itself is critical. I think just before they go, they probably will play Keon somewhere right
Well,
about
no,
there.
they have Sandy Point, then Keon next.
In Keon, they're playing right before they go.
So they play Keon play Sandy Point on the 5th, and their next fixtured game should be St. Paul's. So it might be just before.
Sandy Point, Keon on the 6th, St. Paul's, Bath on the 5th, that's Saturday, and then St. Paul's, Keon on the 12th.
Right.
And then who after that?
St. Paul's Security Forces on the 19th, St. Paul's Mantab on the 26th, but they'll be away, so that's going to be pushed back. Keon got Bath, and on the 18th next month, they have Elko Limited Security Forces.
You see, you can come down to depth of squad because, even in the case of Village Superstars, one of the best things that has happened to the club, I would say, is that in the second transfer window was the picking up of Carlos Bertie. Because, Kimari is injured. Kimari won't play any football for a while, so Carlos Bertie.
He going to pull the string.
Well, he's going to try. To hold this screen, and he was happy to score against Keon because
that's the club he came from.
That's the club, he came from.
Well, he came from Newtown.
From Newtown, from Keon to Newtown.
There was a discussion as to whether or not Keon should have taken him, and Keon were not very happy to take him back because of perhaps how he left. But they themselves are in need of goals.
Well, look here. If you have a tool that I don't like, But you could use the tool against me. I rather take the tool from you. I want to have the tool. I may not use it, but I want the
somebody,
tool.
It's
like I can't let you get the tool.
Uh-huh.
So if I was Keon, I mean, Al may bash me for this, I would have taken Mr. Bertie.
And even if you keep him on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of discussions about that. I mean, team chemistry, that sort of thing.
Novel.
The conversations.
I may worry about chemistry. I'll keep him on the bench. I can't let you go. I can't let you go over there
to hurt me.
To hurt me.
So
well, I guess that's the politics. I guess that's the price you pay.
But you mentioned something.
Internal stuff.
Goals. Before we go to goals, Old Road, they've only lost 2 matches, just like Village, St. Paul's, and Keon.
They have drawn a lot.
They've drawn 5.
In the early stages of the tournament, they drew a number of games. But with Tikwani back, there's a much different feel to the Old Road side.
Assists and goals as well.
Yeah, he adds, Kimari adds a different vibe to Village.
Like Freeman to St. Paul's.
Yes. So when Tikwani, he doesn't even have to be scoring. His presence on the field makes a big difference.
Team raise the level.
I looked at the game with St. Paul's and Village, and balls popping up for Amri. I'm saying to you, Kimari would have strike on goal would have been very different. Where Amri might have been dribbling a man. He gets an opening, he's gonna fire, and he could do that with both feet, equally as good. So it makes him a dangerous, very dangerous proposition when he gets around the back. So Tikwani, Kimari, they have a different impact on their squad.
I know we're talking teams that are in the top 4, but Connery is in the 4, and Connery is, to me, a sleeper. I don't take my eye off of them.
Yeah, they're not. You don't know what they're going to do next. And Errol always find a way to score a goal. He's their number 1 scorer, similar to Freeman, and he's there. And you don't get an explosive Keon, like you say, when you see them continuously. They are scoring goals. As a matter of fact, they're leading the Premiership in goals.
Well, they would have played the 2 weaker teams recently, but at the same time, I think Spuddy is right. You can't take your eye off them. You have a situation where, even though Errol is 41, he still has a work ethic.
41 or 40 young?
41.
40 young.
Yeah, he doesn't show that age, but his work ethic is something to look at. And one of those guys, if he gets around the box and you give him a sniff, he's gonna put it away. And the Connery team doesn't look bad. I saw them against Bath the other night. They were fairly good, and they will be in the mix. They're gonna want to put themselves in the conversation.
Now, interesting here, guys. Old Road, they're in 6th. 2 things. You mentioned 36 points might be the point for the final 4. They are 20. They're on 20 points. So they're 16 points away. And with 6 matches to go, that's 18 points. So they probably need to win all, and they could probably have a draw. But only 7 goals have scored on them for the year in the Premiership. And that's the least in the Premiership. 8 score on Keon.
Keon probably had the best defense for some time till recently.
But you said they're not scoring goals, and you're right.
They haven't been scoring.
They have scored just 19 goals, and that puts them 7th on the list in scoring goals. Village 33. Well, Connery actually scored the most goals, 34. Village 33. Old Road 33 as well, so they're scoring. And St. Paul's 30, Keon only 19.
That's correct, because in the outings against security forces, they had 1 goal. They beat security forces 1-0. They scored 5, I think, against Mantab. And 3, I think, against Sandy Point. But they put that aside. They haven't been scoring regularly in the league. Keon hasn't. They have created chances, but they're not putting them away. Having said that, you're gonna have a team like St. Paul's. St. Paul's continues to score. Village, they are always scoring. They have games where, for instance, Village down 3-1 against Connery first round. And I was on that game. I think it was down 3-1 in the 56, 60 minutes, thereabout, and win the game 4-3.
So
you understand what I'm saying? So you can't think that I up 3-1 and game over.
You gotta play.
Village got goals in them. Can you stop them from scoring? Because they're gonna create opportunities.
Well,
that's just the reality. They have the quality up front that they're gonna create some opportunities. Can you stop them from scoring?
Well, Spuddy made a big point. Kimari Saddle is out, and we hope he recover fully, which is going to take a little time from what I understand. It's not going to be a quick recovery. And I hope, which has happened to a lot of players, his eagerness to get back on the field doesn't cause him to doesn't take the full time to recover. Because I don't know, if he's supposed to take 6 months, and he try to come out after 4 or 5, he might end up being out for a year.
Might be out forever.
These things are things. So I hope he really takes time, no matter how much you think his teams need him, that he really takes time to.
I think what's different in 2025, there are a lot more physiotherapists around. Not just doctors, but physiotherapists who can basically guide him in a different way. One of the things I've always, and Spuddy mentioned, he took some things from Keon, but they probably have one of the better medical staff. When the physio say you can't play, no matter what you say, you ain't playing.
That's the end of that.
That's the end of it. And I think we are in an age where there are many more those in St. Kitts who, if perhaps he start going to therapy somewhere.
Well, he's done the surgery, so it was done here by Dr. Hendrickson.
Right.
So we just allowing him to rest up and be well nourished.
His rehab time will determine that, and they will basically give him a projection, hey, you might be out for X time.
Exactly.
And he just has to respect that. And the club can manage that as well.
And I'm remembering Taju Clark, I think it is from St. Paul's,
right,
who tore some ligaments or something last year.
And Petches.
Yeah. And
Petches had surgery already too.
It's necessary. But quickly, gentlemen, we've been talking about the Premier. If we look at the first division, Newtown out in the lead, 34 points. And all of this is before this current round of matches. This is after 13 matches. Newtown, 34 points. Date in second, 33. Spurs in third, 31. Saddlers in fourth, 31. Galaxy Village, Galaxy South Stars in fifth, 22. They are basically like almost out of the runnings, but then again, you have another 5 matches to go. Anything could happen. Newtown went down last year. Spurs went down last year, and who it was went down last year with them? Galaxy. So Newtown, to me, from the word go, they have been making a statement that we're not really supposed to be down here. Something didn't work out for us last year, but this is a different kettle of fish. Because they were leading Date Bay, took the lead for a game or 2, but then they came back. So, and only 2 are going up. So as it is right now, it's still too close to call.
Much too close. That's going to go down to the wire. So the top 4 teams, that's going to go to the wire. And I think Saddlers and Newtown should have been playing today, if I'm not mistaken. Tonight, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
And but what does this tell us about the state of St. Kitts and Nevis football? Well, before I get there, if we were to use the positions as of now to get 3 divisions, it is suggesting that Newtown, Date Bay, Spurs, Saddlers in the first division, and from the Premier League, Sandy Point, Mantab Security Forces, the bottom 3, they would be in the first. And that's leaving 7 up in the Premier. If you're going to use 8 in the Premier, it's going to be Sandy Point. So, well, what does this tell us, the state of affairs tell us, in terms of how things are looking? And for those listening, and even my panelists, we're going a little over time. It's already 16 past, and I'm watching my it look like he has a date too. So we're going to be wrapping up shortly. Okay, so we have to wrap up in a few more minutes, guys. But what does this tell us? The tightness of the table in the Premier, the tightness of the table in the WINN FM. And basically in the Premier, remember, it's a 3-tier system, and a literally 3-tier system. To go into the 4, to stay up in the Premier, and to really going down. Because as we said earlier, it's Bath and St. Paul and Sandy Point not quite out of the woods as yet.
Well, I'm getting a score here. South Stars 12, Lodge 0.
Wow. That doesn't sound good for St. Kitts and Nevis football.
Question is, I almost promise you probably Lodge didn't even have a full team.
The next game still playing.
Any score from it yet? No? But to comment on this, and probably my final comment before I leave, in terms of the football in St. Kitts, there is a not much disparity in the top maybe 6 clubs. They're placed in the Premier Division.
Or the first.
Or the first. That's where it is. But there is a challenge when a club moves from the first division into the Premier. And I think a lot of it, Spuddy alluded to, club structure and support. Do they have a coach that's serious enough to keep them practicing for? Because sometimes very early in the season you could see the difference in fitness. That's one of the first things, a massive difference in fitness. For instance, Newtown's coach was coaching Village last year. So there is a level of seriousness that he's going to come with, and his approach to training and all this kind of thing. So there is a disparity when the clubs come up, and support has a lot to do with it.
The score, halftime, Newtown 2, 2-0 at the half.
Against Sadler. So, yeah, but there is a disparity, but the tier system that Al spoke about, perhaps less teams in Premier, certain amount in first, and that might probably work, because clearly you see there's also a disparity after the top 4 or 5 clubs in the first division. So that must be looked at, and we covered it. The FA must take some more interest in club development.
Big time.
Club, Spuddy spoke seriously about it. You can't lose a club. You want to maintain a club and grow, bring in more clubs into the
not only that, and I can tell you this because I follow the second division, Molyneux, and Molyneux will go out, they play, they win a game, and then you see something come, say they play a legal player. How could you lose your points after you done win the game? That is hard. So, like clubs, Molyneux is right in that middle point where they need to take off and see more people in the Molyneux Phillips's area, business people,
supporting them,
people who are not necessarily football minds, but because they're meticulous. This person keeps statistics, so it impacts the club positively, because never again we're going to lose a point after we done lose 3 points after we done win a game. Can we play somebody who ain't registered properly?
The politics of it, so to speak.
You know what I mean? So the
administration.
And if you are able to change these things, you could attract any player. It sometimes is like, you see, look at the Premier League. Manchester United is not a good team right now. I support them.
So why?
But when Man U come calling for a player, the history alone can convince a big player to join them and just play regular season to win the FA Cup, the this cup, the that cup. He ain't playing nothing in Europe. Well, as far as we just say as Man U fan, we're playing in Europe, because England is in Europe. So we're playing in Europe. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes...
The club's reputation and all.
Yeah, it comes down to depth of club. And this is where I feel the FA, they have to do it, but you see they won't. I don't think they'll do it. Because when you teach a man too much things, he starts to see things different and he begin to practice independence rather than dependency. And sometimes we don't want people to learn too much things.
You want to keep on giving a man a fish, so to speak, as opposed to teaching him to fish.
Exactly.
But gentlemen, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. And Alan Nutt, he's been watching. We say good night to you, Alan Nutt. We really appreciate it. Don't know if you remember Alan Nutt, the wicketkeeper for Police. And,
remember, he's from Manchester.
He's from Manchester, okay then. And you're having a T20 league, softball league starting after the music festival.
Supposed to.
And congrats to Montezuma and the team working on that. It's been a very interesting program, gentlemen, and it lends itself to a part two at some point, perhaps at the end of the season. Call you in and see if what has transitioned between then and now. And I do appreciate the fact that both of you were, one, able to be here tonight along with Coach Ibu Edwards, and two, allow us to go a little over time. And we thank you to the lady who called and supporting St. Paul's. We hope that she doesn't get her heart broken in terms of the championship. St. Paul's, they are the defending champions. They are the President's Cup champions. So they have some pedigree about them. They've been there. They know what it feels like. And last year, they climbed from 6 to the championship. And this year, they climbed from down at 6, I think it was, McCall, up, and they're second now. So they're on that trajectory. And having done it last year and mastered it, perhaps they're feeling confident. Hope they don't get too confident. So I'm sensing maybe a Village St. Paul's in the finals, the way things are going. I don't know, but still too early to call, because I don't think those other teams, Connery and St. Paul's, even St. Peter's, they're going to take it lightly. But I do thank you for being with us on the ball, Spuddy and Novel and Al, and I look forward to inviting you back again at some point. Perhaps maybe not only in the football, maybe, a gentleman into cricket. So who knows, maybe even handball or basketball. So we thank you once again and get home safely. Any final words?
Well, it's been a pleasure being here. Thanks for the invite. I enjoy it, to be honest.
Appreciate it.
Well, it's my second time, so it's a pleasure again. And if once I'm available, I'll be happy to be back. And thank you to listeners and the management and organizers of the On the Ball program. It was a pleasure being here.
And I must congratulate you, Naval. You've been doing an excellent job with the commentary. And I don't know if we'll be working together with the Under 19, the West Indies Under 19. That's here from about the 3rd.
Yeah, well, thank you. As it pertains to that tournament, I have availed myself. I'm just looking for a schedule to determine my days off from work and have them approved.
Okay, wonderful. And again, thank you very much, gentlemen. And please keep on supporting the football. And Spuddy, I know I see you in the park, not only when Village playing, and I see you at some First Division games. Yeah, and we look forward to having you again. You're listening to On the Ball here at WINN FM 98.9. We're just about wrapping up. We thank you very much to our panelists. We had in studio Mr. Novel McCall and Mr. Troy Spuddy Hendrickson. And on the line, using the technology, we had Mr. Al Edwards. And to the viewers, the callers, we say thank you very much for being with us. Again, we must congratulate Michael Louis for winning the Cricketer of the Year, the West Indies Cricketer of the Year. And congrats to Jazara Claxton for being selected by the Trinidad team for the women's CPL happening early July. And we say best wishes to them. The St. Paul's team, they're going off. SL Hartsford St. Paul's, they're going off to the club championship, the CONCACAF Club Championship in Trinidad next month, and they are doing some workout, and we wish them the best. They've been there before. The last time they were, it was held here in St. Kitts, and they didn't perform that well, but we're hoping that they do this time around. And table tennis, before we slip away, I cannot not say anything about table tennis. We are inviting persons to come on board. If you want to learn table tennis, be you a parent, a child, your brother, your mother, your father, your sister, anybody, please give me a call, 668-2055 or 765-1100. And we are inviting clubs to become a membership of the SKNTTA, the St. Kitts and Nevis Table Tennis Association, be it the Central Bank, be it a church, be it the Customs Sports Club, the Treasury Sports Club, Social Security Sports Club, any sports club you want to be. You could be a football club and be a member of the table tennis fraternity. So we welcome you. Please give me a call as well, and we'll direct you. And we're going to be having our table tennis camp in the summer, so you can sign up your children for that in St. Kitts and in Nevis as well. Last year we were in St. Kitts in collaboration with the Department of Sports. This year we are having it in Nevis with the Department of Sports in Nevis. So as I slip out, ladies and gentlemen, I must warn you, the traffic, we've had some traffic accidents. Please, please don't drink and drive. If you're driving, don't drink, especially with music festival upon us. And if you're tired, guys, you either park up and sleep or get somebody to sleep. Don't try to make it home tired and sleepy. You may not get there. The life you take or the life you save may very well be your own and or your loved one or loved ones. Don't drive too close behind vehicles. When they stop, it's problematic. And when you drive, we want you to arrive alive. That's a little something I got from a friend of mine, and Rodney Baptist. I give him kudos, thank you. When you drive, arrive alive. And I say thank you to my producer, Mr. Toughhouse, who's been with us. And as I slip away, always be positive in your thoughts, your words, and in your actions. Have a good night. Do you want to know what's happening in sport? Tune into On The Ball, a weekly tour show which is on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. with me, your host, Troy Bif Mills. We will keep you on the ball with our variety of guests and, of course, your calls, discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On The Ball with Troy Bif Mills on WINN FM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball.